Next year we'll have to have bigger tent. One hopes that you've had a pleasant week, instructive learning, and exploring into oneself the immense depth and width of life. We are going to ask several fundamental questions this morning. Perhaps some of you have not asked these questions, and it may sound rather extravagant or nothing to do with our daily life, or that is merely theoretical. The speaker does not in any way indulge in theories, ideologies, or any sense of beliefs, dogmas, and all that business. First of all, what is it to be honest? Really, deeply honest. We are honest to some, that is conformity, which we call honesty, to some fictitious belief, faith, or ideologies. But honesty seems to be to one where there is total integrity. That integrity is not mediocrity. Mediocrity, the meaning of that word, according to the dictionary, is one who goes halfway up the hill and never goes to the top of the hill. Perhaps we go to the top of the hill in science, in all the technological world, but we never go to the very top of it, top of our own inquiry, of our own understanding, and find out for ourselves the depth and the beauty of our own lives. Where there is integrity, that is a wholeness, a sense of not completeness, but a sense of non-fragmented way of life. Out of that comes great honesty, unyielding, not easily persuaded or dissuaded, but living a daily life in which there is this holistic way of conducting oneself, morality, and all that business. We were going to talk this morning over together, as we have talked about several other factors of life, like conflict, whether conflict could ever end in our daily life. And we also talked about fear, sorrow yesterday morning, and the nature of, and the depth and the strength of love, compassion and intelligence. We ought to talk over this morning together. What is death? What is immortality? And what is continuity? In the understanding of all that, we have to really delve very, very deeply into the nature of time and thought, which we've been doing from the beginning of these talks. Time, we said, is the past modifying itself in the present, and the future is the present having its roots in the past, continuing, which is the future. Right? So the future is now. That is, we have evolved, according to the biologists and scientists, we have been on this earth as human beings, evolving for 40, 50,000 years. During that long interval of time, during that duration, we have accumulated a great deal of information, knowledge, experience, and technologically we have advanced in the most extraordinary way. But inwardly, psychologically, subjectively, we are very primitive, barbarous. English weather. And we have not fundamentally changed. We are violent, brutal, competitive, terribly aggressive, and so on. And unless one deeply understands, not merely theoretically, but the nature of time, when and what is time. Is time a continuity? I am this, I will be. Is time, when is time? Understand? Is there time in the very act of doing? Is there time in the very action of life? You plant a seed in the ground and it grows, flowers, bears fruit and dies. And while that seed is growing, moving, living, there is no concept of time. It's only we human beings have the concept of time. And when we are doing something completely, holistically, without any sense of fragmented outlook or behavior, the doing, in that act of doing, there is no time. Haven't you noticed all this? As you are sitting here and listening, unfortunately or fortunately, to the speaker, as you are listening very attentively, which I hope one is doing, This attention has no time. Right? It's only time comes into being when you say, what is he talking about? I don't quite understand. Or I'm making tremendous effort to understand. Then time comes into being. But when there is actual listening, seeing very clearly, then there is no time at all. And understanding this, we're going to inquire together. The speaker means together, all of us together. Into the nature, into depth, and the beauty of death. When one uses the word beauty, what do we mean by that word? What is beauty to you? Because we are saying beauty is truth, like love is truth. What is beauty? A beautiful person, a beautiful painting, great mountain that is immovable, full of snow, valleys, shadows, and the deep blue depth of a vast valley. The great paintings, the ancient sculptures. And when we look at them, we say how marvelously beautiful they are. Is beauty something in the beholder, in the observer, in the seer? Or is beauty when the observer is not? Do you understand? Are we meeting each other? Are you all? Have you had enough? Enough is enough? Because in our life, daily life, there is so little beauty. We want to have a beautiful body, beautiful face, and to do all kinds of things to bring that beauty about. Exercise, so-called yoga. Can we go into that word a little bit? In the ancient days, yoga was taught only to very, very few. And in doing yoga, other factors entered into it. A meditation. In the ancient days, I'm not talking now of what is considered yoga. And it was an act of dedication to find out what is truth, what is way of living according to that truth, and so on. But now yoga has become a commercialized affair. If you can't do anything better, you're going to teach yoga. Those people who are experts at it are accumulating money. You know, the whole commercial process. So yoga is something that demands a great deal of attention in the old days, great deal of self-observation, self-recollectedness, and so on. Not just having a beautiful body. So, what is beauty? We're asking. When you compare two great paintings, the comparison between that painter and that painter, or that poem or the other poem, this book or that, what is actually going on in one's brain? You're comparing, you're judging, you're evaluating. Some have said Keats is the greatest poet ever lived. Or if he had lived longer, he would be far greater than Shakespeare, and so on. And when you put aside all the paintings in the world, in museums and in your own house and so on, and when you see the great mountains with their snow and against a blue sky in the morning light, there is a certain quality of silence, certain quality of breathless adoration. And the perception of that immovable, the deep valleys, the lakes and the rivers, and the forests. When you see all that, the very greatness of it drives away our petty little life. Maybe for a minute or for a few seconds, when the self is not, beauty is. Do you understand? Are we together in this? When you look at all those mountains, rivers, and the beautiful architecture, or read a poem, some part of the ancient literature, the Old Testament, or the Upanishads and so on, to observe all that without thought, without the me interfering with your perception. Then there is that quality of immense beauty which is not put together by thought. And to come upon that beauty is to inquire whether the self, the me, the persona, all the characteristic tendencies and all the troubles, pain and anxieties and load, all that, can all that be put aside? Not make that which is great, make you put everything aside. Then that greatness becomes merely a toy. But if you can if one can put all that aside, the very nature of the self, the psyche, then there is that immense beauty which is really timeless existence. And let's go to something else, which is, what is death? We are going to inquire together, what is death? And also we are going to talk over together, what is it that continues? And the continuity is a movement of time. Right? Are you following? So we must ask also, is there anything permanent in us, in the world, outside of us? Is there anything imperishable that cannot be destroyed, that is endlessly permanent? Man has asked this question from the most ancient of times, because he sees around him everything in a flux, everything changing, gaining, losing, being destroyed and put together again. And we also see in ourselves changing, not only biologically, but psychologically. We're all moving a little bit by bit, moving, changing.